My reading of the threat from Iran is that if Iran acquires nuclear weapons, it's an existential threat to the state of Israel, and it is a threat to the region because the other countries in the region will feel a compelling requirement to acquire nuclear weapons as well. Now, we cannot allow a second Holocaust. Let's just make that very clear. But I have proposed for a long time, and I've had conversation with foreign leaders about forming a league of democracies, a group of people, a group of countries that share common interests, common values, common ideals, and they also control a lot of the world's economic power. We could impose significant, meaningful, painful sanctions on the Iranians that I think could have a beneficial effect. So I am convinced that together we can, with the French, with the British, with the Germans, and other countries, democracies around the world, we can affect Iranian behavior. But have no doubt that the Iranians continue on the path to the acquisition of a nuclear weapon as we speak tonight. And it is a threat not only in the region, but around the world.
Now, Senator McCain is absolutely right. We cannot tolerate a nuclear Iran. It would be a game changer. Not only would it threaten Israel, a country that is our stalwart ally, but it would also create an environment in which you could set up an arms race in the Middle East. But we're also going to have to, I believe, engage in tough, direct diplomacy with Iran, and this is a major difference that I have with Senator McCain.
Would you be willing to meet separately, without precondition, during the first year of your administration in Washington or anywhere else, with the leaders of Iran, Syria, Venezuela, Cuba, and North Korea, in order to bridge the gap that divides our countries?
I should also point out that Stephen is in the crowd tonight. Senator Obama?
I would. And the reason is this, that the notion that somehow not talking to countries is punishment to them, which has been the guiding diplomatic principle of this administration, is ridiculous.
John King, what about that? Ever since he has made that statement, which he was attacked for by Republicans and even by the Hillary Clinton camp back then, because he was running against her.
And by Joe Biden, his vice presidential running mate.
Exactly. They've been trying to sort of clean it up.
In that statement, I would. There's no nuance in that statement. The question was, would you meet with these rogue leaders in the view of the United States government, the current administration? Would you meet with them in your first year in office without precondition in Washington or anywhere else? And his answer was 2 words, I would.
Senator Obama twice said in debates that he would sit down with Ahmadinejad, Chavez, and Raul Castro without precondition. Without precondition. Ahmadinejad, who is now in New York, talking about the extermination of the state of Israel, of wiping Israel off the map. And we're going to sit down without precondition across the table to legitimize and give a propaganda platform to a person that is espousing the extermination of the state of Israel, and therefore then giving them more credence in the world arena, and therefore saying they've probably been doing the right thing because you will sit down across the table from them, and that will legitimize their illegal behavior. The point is that throughout history, whether it be Ronald Reagan, who wouldn't sit down with Brezhnev, Andropov, or Chernenko until Gorbachev was ready with glasnost and perestroika, or whether it be Nixon's trip to China, which was preceded by Henry Kissinger many times before he went. Look, I'll sit down with anybody, but there's got to be preconditions, and those preconditions would apply that we wouldn't legitimize with a face-to-face meeting a person like Ahmadinejad. Now, Senator Obama said without precondition.
Right. So let's talk about this. First of all, Ahmadinejad's not the most powerful person in Iran. So he may not be the right person to talk to. But I reserve the right, as President of the United States, to meet with anybody at a time and place of my choosing. Senator McCain mentioned Henry Kissinger, who's one of his advisors, who just said that we should meet with Iran, guess what, without precondition. This is one of your own advisors. But I will point out that I was called naive when I suggested that we need to look at exploring contacts with Iran.
Look, Dr. Kissinger did not say that he would approve of face-to-face meetings between the President of the United States and and Ahmadinejad. He did not say that.
Of course not.
He said that there could be secretary-level and lower-level meetings. I've always encouraged them. The Iranians have met with Ambassador Crocker in Baghdad. What Senator Obama doesn't seem to understand, that if without precondition you sit down across the table from someone who has called Israel a stinking corpse and wants to destroy that country and wipe it off the map, you legitimize those comments. This is dangerous. It isn't just naive. It's dangerous. And so we just have a fundamental difference of opinion.
Let me just take one more example. In North Korea, we cut off talks. They're a member of the Axis of Evil. We can't deal with them.
But we know this, that the North Koreans have broken every agreement that they've entered into. And we ought to go back to a little bit of Ronald Reagan's trust but verify. And certainly not sit down across the table from without precondition, as Senator Obama said he did twice. I mean, it's just dangerous.
Look, and the notion that we would sit with Ahmadinejad and not say anything while he's spewing his nonsense and his vile comments is ridiculous. Nobody knows what he's even talking about.
So let me get this right. We sit down with Ahmadinejad and he says, we're going to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. And we say, no, you're not?
Yeah,
oh, please.
No,
by the way, my friend Dr. Kissinger, who's been my friend for 35 years, would be interested to hear this conversation and Senator Obama's depiction of his positions on the issue. I've known him for 35 years, and I guarantee you he would not say that presidential top level. Of course he encourages, and other people encourage contacts and negotiations and all other things. We do that all the time.
Well, I'm in favor of negotiating with Iran. And one utility of negotiation is to put before Iran our vision of a Middle East, of a stable Middle East, and our notion on nuclear proliferation at a high enough level so that they have to study it. And therefore, I actually prefer doing it at a Secretary of State level so that we're dealing with authentic
So you put it at a very high level right out of the box.
Initially, yes. And I am a believer, but this is a question each of us may have different views. I always believe that the best way to begin a negotiation is to tell the other side exactly what you have in mind and what the outcome is that you're trying to achieve, so that they have something that they can react to. And it has to understand how much time we have and what the possible outcome should be.
Watching our discussion, the McCain campaign just released a statement by none other than Henry Kissinger, who says, quote, Senator McCain is right. I would not recommend the next president of the United States engage in talks with Iran at the presidential level. My views on this issue are entirely compatible with the views of my friend, Senator John McCain. We do not agree on everything, but we do agree that any negotiations with Iran must be geared to reality. So.